Hey there, everybody, and welcome back to Utility Sports. Today, we're going to be taking a look again at the NFL Draft, the 2021 NFL Draft here, a first-round mock draft. We've got some breaking news with some of the re-signings, Cam Newton going back to New England, Tom Brady inking an extension there in Tampa Bay, and much, much more that's going to continue to impact how these mock drafts go. Miami made a move for Isaiah Wilson. We've got so much going on in the NFL that these are going to continue to be very fluid. So you're going to want to be subscribed to keep up to date with all the NFL draft content here. As we move into free agency, we'll be breaking down a lot of those deals. So make sure you guys are subscribed. We also have a Trevor Lawrence jersey giveaway that you need to be subscribed for to be entered. And also like and leave a comment on today's video. It's so much appreciated, guys. You've been absolutely killing it for our support on the channel lately. And now let's jump into today's video. Pick number 1, the Jacksonville Jaguars are here on the clock. And this is the most obvious pick of the draft. Usually the number 1 overall pick is the clear-cut obvious one. Trevor Lawrence is going to be a Jacksonville Jaguar. He's going to go first overall. That is why we have a jersey giveaway of him as a Jaguars jersey on the channel. He's going to be a Jacksonville Jaguar. This is a no-brainer move. Urban Meyer and the Jacksonville Jaguars grabbed their franchise quarterback. He's going to be the best quarterback in Jaguars history when it's all said and done. And it's very fortunate for them that the New York Jets won 2 games at the end of the year. They were in position to grab Trevor Lawrence. Instead, Lawrence is going to be going down to Duval. At pick 2, we've got my New York Jets here, and this is a very fluid situation. I think that they could really look at tackle. I think that they could look at wide receiver, but ultimately, I think at the end of the day, they're going to decide on Zach Wilson being their franchise quarterback. I think Joe Douglas pulls the trigger there on a quarterback, moves Sam Darnold to a team possibly like the Chicago Bears, and Zach Wilson comes in. I think he's got a lot of potential. Some are comparing him to Patrick Mahomes. I don't necessarily see that, but I think he does have a lot of skill. I think he's a guy who can move on the throw on the move, can extend the pocket, uses his feet very well, and he's an accurate thrower of the football. I think he has a lot of the skill set you're looking for, can also deliver the ball outside the numbers. There's a lot of talent there out of BYU in Zach Wilson. I think that he could be a very, very good starter in the NFL and very possibly could be the second best player in this draft. At pick number 3, we got the Miami Dolphins here now on the board, and they are a team with a whole wide range of options now at this point. Where are they going to look here in the draft at pick 3? I think that they're going to settle with Penei Sewell. They're going to really focus on keeping Tua Tagovailoa healthy and also really focus on trying to improve their run game. Penei Sewell helps them in both regards there. He is the best run blocker in the class, and he's got a lot of the talent and skills that you need to develop into being a very good pass blocker in the NFL. He can come in, be their starting right tackle to protect the blind side of Tua Tagovailoa, or you could keep him on the left side where he blocked at Oregon. Either way, he's the home run pick here for the Miami Dolphins. Very well could be the best offensive lineman in this class, head and shoulders above anyone else. Rashawn Slater has a chance, but I think Sewell is the safest offensive lineman pick in this year's class. Now at pick 4, we've got the Atlanta Falcons here, and they're going to be looking to find a quarterback somehow, some way. Is that going to be Justin Fields or is that going to be Trey Lance? That's yet to be seen when it comes to the actual draft night. But at this point, I'm going to actually opt for Justin Fields. I think he's a guy who has a lot of upside. I keep going back on him and Trey Lance on which one I could see Atlanta really going with at pick 4. Fields here, Ohio State, they had a lot of talent around him, but Atlanta has that talent as well. Ridley, very talented receiver. Julio Jones is still there. Hayden Hurst is a nice tight end. And you have Matt Ryan to really give Justin Fields a year to actually acclimate to the NFL, learn their system there in Atlanta under new head coach Arthur Smith. I think this is a good situation for Fields. I think he needs to go to somewhere where he gets a year to kind of adjust to the NFL, pick up some new learning pieces from a good quarterback. Matt Ryan's going to bring all of those things to him, and I think that this is a good fit for both sides. At pick 5, we got the Cincinnati Bengals here, and with Penei Sewell off the board, I think they could seriously look at Rashawn Slater. However, I feel it's very hard for them to pass up on Jamar Chase. That is who I'm going to opt for them going here. The LSU product, very successful with Joe Burrow back in Baton Rouge, and I feel like the Bengals would be hard-pressed to not match those two up if Penei Sewell is off the board. Jamar Chase, a dynamic receiver, can get off the line of scrimmage, can beat his guys one-on-one, create separation. He's going to be a dynamic wide receiver. Remember, he outshined Justin Jefferson, who just had the best rookie wide receiver year of all time. And Jamar Chase was better than him and is a year younger than him. Jamar Chase is an elite wide receiver prospect, and the Bengals are going to be lucky getting him here at pick 5. Now at pick 6, we got the Philadelphia Eagles here, and I could see them really looking in at that wide receiver position. However, I'm actually going to opt for Kyle Pitts here to be the pick at number 6 overall. This is the first time we have mocked Kyle Pitts to the Philadelphia Eagles here on the channel. And it's not that it didn't make sense before. It did. Kyle Pitts is more than just a tight end. He can play out wide. He can play out of the slot. He is a pass-catching player. He's a receiver. However, he can line up at that tight end position. He's a total mismatch, 6'6", an elite playmaker, someone who can get yards after the catch. He's going to be a mismatch with his speed against linebackers. He's a mismatch against cornerbacks with his physical traits, how big he is, how strong he is. He's not going to be a good pass blocker or run blocker at that tight end position. However, he's giving you elite receiver traits. I think he's a great fit in Philadelphia, especially when they're shopping Zach Ertz at the moment. Pick 7, we got the Detroit Lions here, and they're going to be looking at getting a playmaker as well. But I also think that it's very possible they could look in a bunch of different ways. I think it's very likely they could look at a franchise QB like Trey Lance possibly. However, at this point, I think that they're going to opt for Jalen Waddle. I think he's the wide receiver with a lot of upside. He's a real burner, can really run, and I mean run. He's a guy who is very electric, can get you a lot of yards after the catch. And here, they're in Detroit. They decided to actually not franchise tag Kenny Golladay, despite reports that they were strongly considering doing so. Jalen Waddle is going to be the building block that they need for Jared Goff. They need someone who they can throw the football to, and I think they maybe look at that quarterback position a little bit later on, possibly next year or the year after yet, see what Jared Goff really is for them, and Jalen Waddle is the pick here at 7. Now at pick 8, the Carolina Panthers, a team that's not going to be as patient on that quarterback situation. They're going to pull the trigger here on Trey Lance. I think that this makes a lot of sense to them. They need to go and find their franchise quarterback. It gives them a year to sit him if they want. He's a very young kid. Remember, he was playing as a 19-year-old at NDSU. Only got to play one game this year. Didn't look that great, but there's a lot of physical traits there that teams are going to love. He has good size, good mechanics. He's very mobile quarterback, and he's going to give you a lot of different things. I think the upside there with Trey Lance out of NDSU is very notable. And Carolina is a perfect situation for a young quarterback to come into. They've got playmakers there in Robbie Anderson, DJ Moore. We'll see if Curtis Samuel stays put. They're also having a great offensive scheme there with Joe Brady and Matt Rule as the head coach and offensive coordinator. That team is very set long-term. They also have Christian McCaffrey and Mike Davis. They've got a very good running back duo. That team, as long as their defense continues to progress, maybe they use picks in the 2nd through 7th round to really address that defense a little bit more. They are on the up and up, and I think Carolina is going to have a very nice future with Trey Lance. Now at pick 9, we've got the Denver Broncos here, and they're going to be looking at Caleb Farley here. I think Caleb Farley is starting to cement himself as cornerback 1 in this class. Watching him again yesterday on tape, he's a guy with a lot of ball skills. I think he's going to be very talented. He uses his eyes well, reads the quarterback, but is also very solid with his footwork already for how young to the position he is. He's very new to the cornerback spot, former offensive player. And now he's starting to really learn that position. He's got good ball skills, and I think he's going to be a very good cornerback in the NFL. At pick 10, we've got the Dallas Cowboys here, and they're going to opt for Patrick Surtain. They're going to stay in that secondary as well. They need to address that cornerback spot. That is a really big need for them. And Patrick Surtain's more of that true man-to-man guy. You know, he's not necessarily the ball hawk and ball skills that Caleb Farley has on the upside there, but he's going to be a guy who can really dial in one-on-one with an opposing wide receiver and kind of put him on an island a little bit more. I think Surtain is going to be very fundamentally sound with his footwork, with his hands. He's going to give you a lot of options as a cornerback on the outside, and I think he can be a guy who can match up with number 1 wide receivers pretty quickly into his career. Now at pick 11, you're looking at the New York Giants, and this is a pretty solid situation for them. One of the top wide receivers in the class has fallen here to pick 11. That is Devonte Smith. And they're going to go ahead and pull the trigger here on him. The Heisman winner goes 11th overall here in our mock draft. And I think that he has a lot of upside. He's going to be a guy who can play out wide. He can go up over the top, beat guys deep, go get the ball. Now, I do have some concerns about his frame. He's a little bit smaller, doesn't have the biggest legs by any means or the biggest arms. He might struggle getting off the press a little bit in the NFL, but he has a lot of talent, especially when the ball's in the air, and he is a guy who has good footwork as well, can set himself up. He doesn't necessarily need that size or frame to get himself off the line of scrimmage, but I think that is going to be a slight concern for NFL teams. At pick 12 now, we've got the San Francisco 49ers here, and this is a very interesting situation for them. I find it very likely that they come back and bring Trent Williams back in free agency. That's going to be a really big watching point for us now at this point. But I think Mac Jones is starting to play himself up into a top 15 pick. He had a very good Senior Bowl. And he's been playing very well as of late. I didn't mean Senior Bowl necessarily, but I just meant looking at him on tape, his past season, rather. He's been very productive. And Mac Jones is going to go to the 49ers here. I don't think that they're sold on Jimmy Garoppolo, and I think Mac Jones takes over as their long-term starter sooner rather than later. Now at pick 13, we've got the Los Angeles Chargers here, and this is a dream scenario for the Chargers. They grab Rashawn Slater here, the best pass blocker in the NFL draft, and they need it badly. They have to protect Justin Herbert, their quarterback. He was throwing under duress all season long, doing a great job at it, but if they could keep him upright in the pocket a little bit longer, look at this Chargers offense being extremely dangerous going into next year. They have over-the-top threats like Jalen Guyton. They just need to give Justin Herbert a little bit more time. He has all the arm strength that you need to throw that ball deep and the touch and accuracy to do it. They just need to protect him a little bit longer, and this Chargers team is going to be on the up and up, grabbing Rashawn Slater here at pick 13. Now at pick 14, we got the Minnesota Vikings here, and I'm really torn on them. I think that defense is a really big need. I could look at them going linebacker to give them some long-term flexibility with Anthony Barr. I think that safety is a big need. I think 14 is a little bit of a reach, though, for any of the safeties in this class. So ultimately, I'm going to opt for them going Elijah Vera Tucker out of USC. He's a versatile offensive lineman, gives you a lot of different things when it comes to pass blocking and run blocking. He can play out at left tackle. He can play inside at either guard position, and he's going to be a very versatile player for them. And it's going to be the biggest focus is focusing on that offensive line. They just cut Riley Reif the other day. That was an obvious release that they needed to make. Elijah Vera Tucker can come in, maybe compete for that left tackle spot with Ezra Cleveland, but ultimately could revert back into guard if Ezra Cleveland does beat him out at that left tackle spot. Either way, this gives Minnesota the flexibility that they need this offseason, and I think that they are in a very good situation grabbing Elijah Vera Tucker at pick 14. Now at pick 15, we got the New England Patriots. Like I said at the start of this video, they just reached a one-year agreement with Cam Newton on a $14 million deal. So where do they go now at this point? Part of me thinks Micah Parsons is the clear and obvious pick. They want to bring in a linebacker, someone who fits into what Bill Belichick does defensively. But at the same time, they badly need some help on the offensive side of the football. Some guys here that they could be looking at on that side of the ball is Rashad Bateman, maybe Terrace Marshall, even a guy like Kadarius Toney, who's an elite burner, gives them a lot of different looks on the offensive side of the football. But I think Micah Parsons is just too talented for them to pass up here. Bill Belichick is going to love Micah Parsons. This is unfamiliar territory for the New England Patriots. It's not very often we see them picking in the top 15 picks of the NFL draft. They're going to use this situation here to get a guy who has elite potential on the defensive side of the football, and that is Micah Parsons. Now at pick 16, we've got the Arizona Cardinals here, and luckily for them, J.C. Horn has fallen yet again to pick 16. I really like what he brings out of South Carolina. I think that he's got true lockdown cornerback potential. Now, I think that he has a little bit of room to grow yet. I think his footwork isn't necessarily there with the same level as guys like Caleb Farley and also Patrick Surtain, but I think he's got very good ball skills himself. I think he's able to read the quarterback's eyes, can drift off of his man-to-man cover to beat a guy to the spot. I think he's very good recognition-wise. And I think now at 16, Arizona feels very comfortable grabbing J.C. Horn. They just brought Robert Alford back, but they still need another outside corner, and J.C. Horn is going to be the long-term replacement to Patrick Peterson. At pick 17, we got the Las Vegas Raiders now here on the clock, and I'm quite puzzled by some of their moves. They traded Trent Brown to the New England Patriots. They cut Gabe Jackson. They cut Richie Incognito. Their offensive line has absolutely fallen apart. Now, I think Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah is a great fit for them. However, I think that they now, at this point, probably opt for Samuel Cosmi. I just think that they need to address their offensive line. I'm very confused on why they decided to move on from one of the strengths of their team at this point, which is that offensive line. They've moved 3 of their 5 starters, and I just think that this is going to be a danger point for Las Vegas if they don't find ways to address this in free agency. Samuel Cosmi comes in. He's going to be a starting tackle for them across from Colton Miller. And I think then at that point, you have your tackles figured out. They still need to figure out their guard situation now, though, after cutting their 2 starters. I'm interested to see what Vegas does in the draft now. I thought Owusu-Koramoah was the no-brainer pick for them, but with Samuel Cosmi and their recent moves, I think that's the direction that they are headed at this point. At pick 18, we got the Miami Dolphins here, and now Owusu-Koramoah has fallen, but also they badly need a wide receiver, and Rashad Bateman is the pick. And for those of you who get mad about Rashad Bateman, he just ran his 40 time. He ran a 4.39 laser time in his 40 time. He is a fast wide receiver. I don't know where the notion came that he was not a fast wide receiver. He plays off the line of scrimmage very well, can create separation, and he's got very good speed. Players like him don't come around often, and he's going to be a guy who stays up into the top 20 picks here in the NFL draft after running that 40 time. It cements everything that we had thought about him here on the channel as a good quality wide receiver who can create separation off the line of scrimmage with his footwork, but also can create separation with his speed. He is a good combination of both there in Miami, and I think that that is a home run pick for the Miami Dolphins, grabbing Penei Sewell at 3 and Rashad Bateman at 18. That is a much improved offensive team. Now at pick 19, we've got the Washington football team, and they have a lot of different things that they could look to do as well here. Offensive tackle, a very big need for them. They would have also been in the running for Rashad Bateman, but at this point, I think that the tackle position is the biggest need for them. They're going to opt for Christian Darrisaw, who's fallen just a little bit here on our board. He goes 19 to the Washington football team, and I think this is a great situation for them. He comes in, is going to protect whatever quarterback they decide to roll with moving forward, and he is going to be their starting left tackle on day 1 next season. At pick 20, we got the Chicago Bears here, and they're another team, very interesting situation. They need to figure out who their quarterback's going to be. Are they going to go all in on a trade for a guy like Russell Wilson or Deshaun Watson? Are they going to play it a little bit safer and make a move for Sam Darnold? That's yet to be seen. We're going to see what Chicago really does look to do moving forward, but I think at pick 20 now, this pick could be on the way out to a team like Houston, possibly Seattle, but at the meantime, this pick does belong to the Chicago Bears, and I think that with where they're at here on the board, they would opt for Tevin Jenkins. He's going to come in, compete to be their starting offensive tackle on day 1. He looked very good for Oklahoma State. He handled guys like Joseph Osai throughout the season, some really good edges in college football. He handled them mightily, and I think he's played himself into a surefire first-round pick, and we could see him even going as high as pick 20 here after some of the other offensive tackles have gone off the board. Now at 21, we are looking at the Indianapolis Colts. They're another team really desperate for some offensive tackle help to replace Anthony Costanzo, who's likely going to retire. But I think it's more likely that they look at that wide receiver position, especially with how the board's fallen. We've seen some of those tackles kind of fall off the board pretty quickly here. And it feels like a little bit of a reach at 21 to grab the remaining tackles. Instead, they take advantage of who's gone off the board. They grab Kadarius Toney here out of Florida. He is an elite burner, very electric wide receiver, the second most electric wide receiver in this class, just behind Jalen Waddle, who we saw go 7th overall. This is a good grab for the Colts. They get a very good wide receiver, someone who with a lot of upside was very successful at the University of Florida in Kadarius Toney. I think he blends well with Carson Wentz and fits right into Frank Reich's offense, especially with T.Y. Hilton being a free agent. At pick 22, we've got the Tennessee Titans, and they're going to be looking exclusively at that edge position, I feel like, here in the first round. This is a very tough situation for them. They need to figure out really which direction that they want to go in when it comes to getting an edge rusher. I think that Kwity Paye makes a lot of sense. He's got a lot of the physical athletic traits that you're looking for in an elite edge, but Jalen Phillips was a little bit more successful recently. He's played himself up into the first round, and he has a little bit higher trajectory now at this point with the way that he's been rolling lately. However, I think that they do opt for Kwity Paye. I think the athleticism really does play a big part in why he goes above any of the other edges at this point. He goes 22 to Tennessee. I think this is a very good fit into Mike Vrabel's defense. Now at 23, we got my New York Jets here, and this is a very interesting situation. Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah has slid quite a bit. However, we still have C.J. Mosley, and I don't really see Owusu-Koramoah being the pick that Robert Saleh goes with. I think he's strongly going to be looking at edge, but also that cornerback position. And I think this is a big-time no-brainer now for the New York Jets. You've got to grab Eric Stokes. He has elite speed at that cornerback position. I think he's a perfect fit onto the Jets defense. They badly need an outside cornerback, and Eric Stokes is going to be that guy. He has very good footwork. I think he's got a good ability to read the quarterback's eyes as well. However, one issue I do have with him is I think he's a little sloppy with his footwork, relies a little bit too much on his hands as a cornerback, but that's something at pick 23, you're willing to take that risk, try and coach him up a little bit and help him progress as a player. With Robert Saleh being there, I do think that is a very likely possibility that Eric Stokes can start to perform at a higher level. At 24, we've got the Pittsburgh Steelers now. They're going to be looking at that offensive tackle spot, but with how the board's fallen, I think that they would feel very comfortable grabbing Najee Harris here. Good blend of power and speed as a running back. He's got everything you're looking for in a first-round running back. He's got the ability to run with physicality. He's elusive, and I think he's a great fit in Pittsburgh there. They're going to have to look at that running back position as a long-term answer, and Najee Harris is the best long-term solution for them on the board. Now at pick 25, we've got the Jacksonville Jaguars here. They grabbed their franchise quarterback Trevor Lawrence earlier on. Now it's going to be about coming back here and trying to just improve this football team around him. One way that I think that they could do that is going with Christian Barmore out of Alabama. I think he is the perfect fit onto that defense. They need someone who's going to be a real run stopper up the middle of that defense. They have to play against Derrick Henry twice a year. They also have to play the Indianapolis Colts, who really shown to be a very good run team this past season. They have to really focus on improving that interior defensive line, and Christian Barmore is far and away the best interior defensive lineman in this class. He is a no-brainer here for the Jacksonville Jaguars at 25. And then they have pick 33 as well. They could look to come back, maybe grab Trayvon Merrick. We'll see if he goes before the end of the first round here. At pick 26, we've got the Cleveland Browns, and this is a home run situation for Cleveland here. They get to grab Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah, who, in my opinion, could be the top linebacker in this class, actually, when it comes to what his abilities are. He's more of that true field general, a guy who can go sideline to sideline, makes plays, uses his eyes well, diagnoses plays after the snap immediately. Owusu-Koramoah, a very good linebacker in this year's class. He falls all the way to 26 in this mock draft, but this is a home run situation for the Cleveland Browns. They badly need to address that linebacker situation, and Owusu-Koramoah is the perfect answer to their problems. 27 now, we've got the Baltimore Ravens here, and at this point, they're going to opt for Jaelan Phillips. They're going to be looking for a long-term Matthew Judon replacement, and Jaelan Phillips falling to 27 is the perfect answer to that. He's a guy who can stand up on the edge, can also put his hand in the dirt, gives them some flexibility, and I think that he comes in, can play the run game really well, which is a key part to John Harbaugh's defenses. He loves managing the run game offensively and defensively. When they win that battle, they usually win the game, and Jaelan Phillips is going to go a long way in helping Baltimore control that aspect of football. Pick 28, we've got the New Orleans Saints, and they continue to be one of the most difficult teams to mock for. They just cut Emmanuel Sanders, however, and I think now at this point they're going to look to stay in-state in Louisiana here, grab Terrace Marshall Jr. out of LSU. They're going to be looking for a number 2 wide receiver for whoever's throwing the football for them, whether that's Drew Brees, Taysom Hill, Jameis Winston. We don't know that yet, but Terrace Marshall Jr. is going to be the answer for the New Orleans Saints at that wide receiver position. They stay in Baton Rouge here and grab the wide receiver from LSU. Pick 29, Green Bay Packers are now on the clock. They badly need to figure out their offensive tackle situation. They need to figure out a wide receiver 2 and a cornerback 2. And I think with how the board has fallen, I think the cornerback 2 positions thinned out a little bit. I could see them maybe reaching on Kelvin Joseph, but at this point, I think that's a little bit too early of a selection for them. Wide receiver position with Marshall off the board has really thinned out, so I think they do stay in the offensive tackle situation. They opt for Liam Eichenberg in this mock draft here. He's got a lot of the skill set that you need to be a left tackle in the NFL. The nice thing is they do have Bakhtiari on injury right now, which means that Eichenberg can kick back over to right tackle after Bakhtiari does return from his injury. Eichenberg is a good short-term replacement at that left tackle spot. You're really getting a good long-term return on investment here. You don't necessarily need to grab a left tackle, but you want someone who can fill in at that left tackle while Bakhtiari is out. And I think Green Bay does pull the trigger here on protecting Aaron Rodgers. Now at pick 30, we got the Buffalo Bills. They just made breaking news yesterday, keeping Matt Milano there in Buffalo long-term. And now at this point, it's kind of hard to see what Buffalo would look to do at pick 30. I think that they could really look at the edge position. However, linebacker not being a need anymore, I think that they're going to take the luxury pick here on Travis Etienne, and they're going to bring in the best pass-catching back in the backfield here besides Kenneth Gainwell in this class, and that's Etienne. He has a lot of potential as a guy after the catch, breaks a lot of tackles, very shifty runner, and he's going to be a guy who kind of reminds you of Alvin Kamara in a lot of different ways. Now, I don't think he's quite as good of a runner as Alvin Kamara is, but I think in the passing game, he gives you a lot of similarities, and I think that's a perfect fit for Brian Daboll and that Bills offense. They need Travis Etienne very badly to be a complement to Josh Allen. I think he is a great situational piece for Buffalo there as a long-term running back option for them. Now at pick 31, we have the Kansas City Chiefs here, and they made news yesterday cutting 2 of their offensive tackles, Eric Fisher, being one of them, and they need to badly figure out their starting offensive tackle situation, and they're going to go look at that offensive tackle spot very closely here, and they're going to opt for Jalen Mayfield. I think that Mayfield kind of translates better as a right tackle in the NFL. However, he does have some potential to be a left tackle, and Kansas City having two vacancies at both of those positions gives them the flexibility to take the best tackle available. That is Jalen Mayfield at this point. Regardless of which position he really starts at, they need to protect Patrick Mahomes, and he's going to be a good option to do so there in Kansas City. Now at pick 32, we've got the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They just finalized a contract extension with Tom Brady, tying him there through his age 45 season, and it's a very team-friendly deal. They opened up a lot of cap room to keep guys around. Shaq Barrett probably going to be one of those guys staying put there in Tampa Bay. Chris Godwin, he's franchise tag. They're kind of figuring out some of their issues about keeping guys around. Levante David got his contract extension. So now here at this point, it's kind of open to Tampa what they want to do. I think that they do ultimately go with Gregory Rousseau on some potential for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I think that Shaq Barrett's still the one they're a little cautious about losing. So bringing him in at this point makes the most sense to me, but we will see who they are able to keep and maybe add on to this defense moving forward through free agency. Make sure you guys are subscribed. Hopefully you did enjoy the mock draft today, and we'll catch you guys in the very next video.